I'll sit over here.
You want me to sit where down?
Right here. Grandmother, mother.
Come on, Mama.
On this side, mom.
Me.
No, no, I'm right there. Everything good? Okay, okay, perfect, perfect. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, and 3. All right, perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. Hello, y'all. I'm Minister Dominic Alexander, President and founder of the Next Generation Action Network. We are here today on this Monday early because of an incident, a traffic accident that happened on August 16th, 2024, with Mr. Walker, who is to my left. We have his mother, and also we have his grandmother. I will allow them to introduce themselves in just a second as they are, as they speak to the situation that happened. On April 16th, Mr. Walker was traveling on Highway 30, going to a job interview around the hours of about 10:30, 11 a.m. Mr. Walker's vehicle hydroplaned because it was a very rainy day, and Mr. Walker's vehicle hit a median. It was just a simple traffic accident. This was a accident that only a one vehicle accident. It wasn't a multiple. There wasn't no one else hurt or anything but the vehicle that Mr. Walker was driving. Mr. Walker immediately called his sister, as well as I believe that he was in contact with his mother as well about the traffic accident. And they were just simply trying to get a record out there so that his vehicle could be transported. During this accident, Mr. Walker's airbags, everything deployed, which you guys know that technically once an airbag deploy of a car, it is considered totaled. So Mr. Walker was sitting there. There was a bystander that came and checked on Mr. Walker. Two Mesquite police officers approached behind Mr. Walker, came to the vehicle and asked Mr. Walker for his ID. Mr. Walker gave them the ID. An officer came back and gave Mr. Walker back his ID. Again, another officer came back and asked Mr. Walker for his driver's license. He gave it to him then. After the bystander, he was asking his sister, could the bystander tell the police, could I go off the exit so I won't be in an unsafe area? Mr. Walker was right there on Highway 30 where many cars, of course, were traveling in the mileage of 60 miles per hour or 70 miles per hour, or even 80 at some times. But after she did that, the bystander then get in the back, opens the back door of his vehicle, and then goes to the police officers and say that Mr. Walker has a gun in the back seat of his car under the seat. Mr. Walker then, after that, then quickly, Mesquite police quickly escalated the situation. The grandmother was arriving at the scene to, basically help their son out of something that they felt like was just a simple traffic accident. This grandmother did not think that they were going to come to a simple traffic accident and literally see a actual two Mesquite police officers with their guns drawn at a car. Asked him quickly, why is this situation escalated? What is going on? He cannot hear you. Mr. Walker was on the phone at the time as the Mesquite police guns were drawn. She's steady repeatedly yelling. The grandmother is steady repeatedly yelling. He cannot hear you. You're on a highway. He cannot hear you. Do not kill my baby. Do not kill my baby. He cannot hear you. His mother instructed Mr. Walker to put his hands out of the vehicle, but he could not hear them in any kind of way. Now, Mesquite police has these little devices in their car. They're called a horn. It's a sound bullhorn, so that when you're in tough areas, people can comply to the commands of the police department. But yet, at the end of the day, they didn't feel like that was needed. After minutes of a debacle and back and forth situation and more police being dispatched to the situation, they approached the vehicle and they were able to handcuff Mr. Walker. After they put the handcuffs on Mr. Walker, they placed him, and then they explained to Mr. Walker exactly what was going on. They removed two guns from the vehicle of Mr. Walker's car. These guns were legally obtained legally, and they were his guns. Now, I say to everyone that says, why is this news? Why is this important? Because we live in the state of Texas where it's an open carry state. And I just want to know that because we live in an open carry state, is everybody, every person that openly carry that is of color, when they get stopped, is this the type of escalation that they're going to have to give? Especially when Mr. Walker clearly told the police that he was carrying. So at the end of the day, I find it hard to believe that a lieutenant in Mesquite would take a complaint from this mother and then say to this mother that they don't see anything wrong. Now, many of you guys in the media have not been able to see the video, but we will release the video so that you can see where there is a mother and a grandmother quickly trying to get these and pleading with these officers to try to get them to lower their guns and say, hey, this is literally a traffic accident. It's not a crime. It's not anything. What is going on? Why, and what reason would Mr. Walker get in any traffic accident and then threaten the life of an officer? What is the threat? Why is it that a man is sitting on the shoulder of a highway, and then minutes later he has to see two Mesquite police officers with their guns drawn at the vehicle? Why is that? That's a huge problem in America, especially when we live in a state where it says that we can permitless carry, open carry state, we can carry a gun. But it seems to me that looking at this video, if you're black in America, those rights do not be afforded to you at the same time. And that's why the Next Generation Action Network is appalled about the actions of Mesquite police. But we also echo the words of many community leaders in Mesquite about the growing issue of Mesquite Police Department not able to de-escalate situations. It's a growing problem, a growing issue. We know this in the death of Peyton Lawrence, a young man killed a few months ago by Mesquite police, and there have been several incidents where Mesquite PD have escalated a situation. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest premise of the 21st century policing policy that was released by President Obama during his tenure as President of the United States was being able to show officers how to de-escalate a situation. But in this case, as we call for de-escalation, it shouldn't have never been escalated in the first place. So we stand here today grateful that we can stand here and say that Mr. Walker is not dead. Because of the heroic actions of his mother and his grandmother, he is still living. Because out of my 10 years, what I saw in that video would have been an obituary later on, a grieving mother, grieving something that is not even close to a crime. We're in America. When laws are passed in our state, they are for everyone, not a certain race, not a certain gender. They are for everyone. When you said you wanted to have an opalist carry state and a permalist carry state, yet at the end of the day, you accepted that, and now every time you see a person carrying a gun and lawfully carrying a gun and actually telling you, is it going to be that you're going to forcefully remove them for their vehicle so that you can quote unquote secure their weapon? If you went to this vehicle twice and didn't see a single threat, why did Mesquite police officers have to forcefully remove Mr. Walker from his vehicle? I'm going to pass it over to his mother to just talk about just the experience of having to go out there and what she's seen from the moment she arrived at the actual scene where her son was in a traffic accident.
What I seen that day is something that no parent should have to ever see. No, to walk up on a situation like that. It was just out of control for Mesquite to draw their weapons on my son the way they did. I was pleading, begging him, please, he cannot hear. He cannot hear, please, he cannot hear. I was pleading and begging him. And this is something that no parent should ever have to go through.
What's been this time for you? How you been dealing with it?
It's been very hard. I've been having anxiety. I can still see it. I can still see the police with the guns drawn on my son, me just begging, pleading that, you know, please, he's an African American. I know what have happened in the past, and I was just begging, and it's been hard for me because I still can see it. It's like, it's really been hard.
What was your reaction when you walked in and you saw the scene going on in front of you?
Just why I was on the phone. The phone was on speakerphone, and I had my son on the phone. I told my son to put both hands out the window. He didn't know what was going on behind him, and I was just begging and pleading, please, 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 let's beg, just crying like, please.
What were the officers doing when you got there?
One officer was in his car talking to the bystander that was there, and when he got out of his vehicle, that's when he asked if my son had any weapons, and I said he's legal to have. He do have a gun. I don't know if he had it with him. At that time, that's when he was just start drawing the guns and calling for backup. Everything was calm. He had already been to my son's vehicle twice.
So you see the officers drawing their guns to
Yes.
your son. What's your reaction to that?
I was nervous. I was pleading. I was begging because that's something that no parent should ever have to witness. Never. I didn't know what was going to happen to my son that day.
Did you have a moment where you thought you might lose your son?
Yes. Yes. And it was sad because no mother should have to witness anything like that, especially with guns drawn on a simple accident. It was terrible.
You approached, I guess, Mesquite PD, right? Is that correct? Yes. And what was Mesquite answer when you approached them about your son's case?
They couldn't even hear me because when I first got there, they weren't really saying anything, and they just asked me one question, you know, and because they was talking to the witness that had already went in his backseat of his car.
And then you approached him the second time, right? Is that correct? The mother has gone to the Mesquite PD to figure out what happened? Your filing of the complaint. Yeah, the filing of your complaint. So what was the reaction? What did Mesquite PD say to you?
That they said they didn't find any wrongdoing of the officer.
And what are your thoughts about that?
It was wrong. It was wrong, and I think justice needs to be served for that. I think the officers should be accountable for what they did, because it could have been on a highway where he cannot hear. If the wind was so strong in the traffic, he could not hear. If he would have got out that car and I had not been there, I probably wouldn't have my son today.
And to make sure that we can state exactly who she spoke with in the Mesquite Police Department, his name is Lieutenant Brian Parrish. That is the person who she seen and where she filed the complaint with. And we just feel it's egregious that Mesquite could come to that conclusion and say that there is nothing wrong in this video. And just from the statement from the grandmother, them telling them to continue, get back, or whatever it may be, and they're pretty much yelling and screaming, pleading with these officers. He cannot hear you. He cannot hear you. Mind you, Mr. Walker is just asked the bystander, because he wasn't getting out the car or whatever, could I drive down the median so that I can get in a safe area? He's on the side of the highway. And of course, as you know, if it's 3-lane traffic and people going 60 and 70 miles per hour, you cannot hear. And yet at the end of the day, Mesquite Police Department came to this young man's window twice. Not one simple incident happened. The only thing is when that bystander said and went through his vehicle, looked through his vehicle, opened his door illegally, they should have said, ma'am, step back. It's illegal for a man to carry a gun. You checked him. He has no warrants. He has nothing, right? There is nothing to escalate this situation into this matter. And why it's very important that we pause right now to have this press conference is because we don't want anybody to go through what he went through again. Because the next time, someone might not have their grandmother, their mother out there to be able to record. They can simply see that this mother and this grandmother is recording. Someone might not have it. It might be 1 a.m. in the morning. It might be 6 a.m. in the morning, and someone's going in, and someone loses their life because an officer does not know how to de-escalate a situation. Yes, Mr. Walker is going to talk. I'm going to give him. Well, this is what I do. I would love to just open it up and y'all ask them questions. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So first question, Mr. Walker, how you been dealing with this?
Hold on 1 second.
It's been rough. It's been a little rough. It's been a little rough for me to deal with, especially with my mom seeing it.
I think you've seen the video, right?
Yes.
Now that you've seen the video from another perspective, what are your thoughts?
If I didn't have my mom, I wouldn't have been here.
Tell me what goes through your mind when this happening, when you're inside the car and you see these officers, I guess, pointing their guns at you.
I was clueless because I didn't know what was going on. So it was hard for me to react. Like, when I got my hands out the window and I seen like 3 officers pointing guns, I was like, what's going on? Like, I didn't know what was going on. And then on top of that, they would just point it. And I was talking to them, like I couldn't hear them. Like I was telling them I couldn't hear them. So luckily my mom was there. Mom, I probably would have been dead.
Before the incident, were the officers courteous to you? Was there any other problem besides that?
No, I never. He checked my ID. So he went back to the car and gave me back my ID. So it was 2 officers that grabbed my ID.
What do you think went wrong?
I feel like they could have went a different way about pulling the guns out. Because like I said, if I would have got out the car not knowing what was going on, I'm thinking it's just me having a wreck. That's all I thought it would. But they put out guns. Luckily it was for my mom, so I was on the phone with her, so she was telling me.
And when you're with your mom's on the phone and your mom is telling you, is that correct? Put your hands out, right?
Correct.
What was your thoughts when you heard your mom saying that?
it was just hard for me to react. Like, what's going on? Like, I was yelling at, I was telling my mom, I was telling them I can't hear them, and I was also yelling at the officer, but just the officer wasn't giving me no good reaction. Like, he was just pointing. It's like nothing I can do in that situation, but put my hands out the window.
So the incident happens, and what? They take you out of the car. They
Uh,
put handcuffs on you. What happens?
well, as I was on the phone with my mother, I was telling her that I can't hear, and she was yelling at them, telling them that he can't hear y'all. All y'all gotta do is ask him to get out the car. But they finally caught on and they heard me. Well, my mom was talking to him, yelling at him and telling him like he. So that's when they got close. But they were still pointing the guns, and then they pulled like and put my hands in handcuffs and put me in a cop car.
Before this incident, have you ever had any feeling, where you don't trust police officers, right? Well, this is your first.
Uh, yeah, it's my first time. So really, it's just like, um, I don't know. Uh, it just happened so fast. It happened too fast. Like when I had my hands out the window, I ain't know what was going on. I didn't know a simple traffic stop or me having a wreck that was gonna cause that. And I know it's illegal to carry guns in Texas, so I didn't know it was gonna go out like I didn't know that I was gonna get did like that.
Quick clarification. So did he tell the officers right from the beginning, is there a gun in my car? Or they found out through that bystander?
Find that
They
you found that through
they
the
found out through the bystander.
Are you able to, I know, Dr. Garden kind of told us what happened, but, where were you heading? Just kind of, just so we like can give our viewers sort of a background. You were just driving, and will you kind of recount what happened for us?
Yes, ma'am. I was driving to an interview, and I was only like 9 minutes away from the interview.
Trying to get a job?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, can you describe the road conditions to me and kind of what happened?
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that?
Can you give me a timeline of what happened? Like you woke up in the morning, you got in your car, you were heading to an interview, and then tell me what happened after that.
Yes, I got in my car, went to the interview. As I was going to the interview, I was on 30, so um, that's when I had hydroplane. And then that's when it all happened. Like that's when everything happened. Me going to my interview is when everything happened.
Your car just kind of spun out of control.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
So what's the ending goal here for you guys?
So the ending goal is that we want to make sure that the chief of police and the mayor release a plan on how they're going to retrain Mesquite officers in regards to de-escalation and how to help assist. At the end of the day, whether they knew or they didn't know, there is a person, they have clearly checked this man's driver's license not once but twice, have not found anything, had not found a background or nothing. Mr. Walker has never been in trouble with the law, but yet at the end of the day, Mesquite felt it needed. After a simple, someone has a one vehicle accident, that they forcefully remove a man because an overzealous bystander illegally opens the door, because it's really illegal, because at the end of the day, he didn't ask for this bystander to go in the back door and open his door, go through his car, look through his car, all of that type of stuff or whatever. This young man was only trying to be safe on the side of a highway and just wait for the wrecker that his family had already called for him. If they had any concerns, they could have easily just asked Mr. Walker or whatever, this was a child that was cooperative. At the end of the day, if we accept in America that officers have a right to just escalate a situation without consequences, then we are going to be in a dangerous America, and we have not learned anything when it comes to the area of police brutality. And the reason why we say is because when we look at the history of the Next Generation Action Network and the history of police brutality in America, it is not the person that is wanted for aggravated assault, not the person who is wanted for murder. It's the person who goes in there and is accused of a petty $20 theft or traffic accident. He done ran the stop sign. He went 75 and a 60. These are the people who are losing their life in America. Simple traffic accidents, simple traffic stops, simple this, simple that is never simple when you're a black man in America. And that's the reason why enough is enough. This cannot be the way that Mesquite does business. And the community should be outraged on how they escalated the situation. At the end of the day, they should have waited on the record. This was not an investigation whatsoever because Mr. Walker had not committed a crime whatsoever. And so I want to know how Lieutenant Brian Parrish, I want to know what the Mesquite City Council, I want to know what the Mesquite Police Chief has to say about this video as we release it. And what we tried to do, we tried to see if we give Mesquite all of the information, would they do the right thing? Would they come and say, young man, we're sorry, we messed up? We went days before we called this press conference today to see if Mesquite Police was going to say, young man, we're sorry. Young man, we got it wrong. They couldn't. Mother, grandmother, we're sorry. No, they couldn't. We didn't see anything wrong. It's business as usual. And so that's why we call on the mayor and the police chief to talk about publicly how will they build de-escalation trainings, how will they retrain their officers around this on how to deal with people who are openly carrying, who has in Texas, for every 10 stops, 7 people are carrying a gun in Texas. I think that's a data that has been publicly shared. So I don't know why in Texas do we have officers forcefully removing people because they have rightfully and legally obtained a permit or rightfully in the state of Texas, you don't have to have a permit. If they have a problem with that, they might want to talk to their governor, Greg Abbott. Other than that, thank y'all today. The Next Generation Action Network will release some call to actions. We will release the video, and we will release with a follow-up letter, an open letter to the mayor and the police chief of Mesquite. Any other questions?
Just to get some information unless anybody else has a question. Address of the incident where it happened.
Yes.
Do you have the address?
It's really not an address because it's on the shoulder of the highway.
But an idea, so in case
We can tell you the exit. What was the exit close?
It was I-30 West, past Galloway exit. The
Past
construction.
So you were heading away from downtown?
Headed towards
Heading
downtown.
towards downtown.
Yes.
A little bit past 635, right?
It was on 30,
30?
30.
Okay.
Past Galloway.
Okay.
Do you have the complaint number that you filed to Mesquite PD?
He didn't give me a complaint number.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What time did it happen?
The accident, I would say anywhere between 10:30, 10:30, 11 o'clock a.m.
So in the morning.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Was he ever put in handcuffs?
Yes, he was. You can see it on the video.
Okay.
We'll release it. Everything is on the video. There's 2 different videos, one from the mother and one from the grandmother.
Was he released after?
Yes, he was. He was released, and they removed the guns and they gave them to his mother.
Did they ever give you an explanation why they did that? I mean, did the officer ever say, well, it's for our safety or anything? Did they ever say anything to you?
They actually gave me 3 different stories. So I don't know which story is really true.
Which
Tell
are
us,
those
ma'am.
stories that they gave you?
They told me that the bystander saw the gun in my son's lap. Then they told me, the other officer said, they told my son when they handcuffed him that the gun's supposed to have been pointed, that he pointed the gun. And then the other officer told me that she seen the gun. It was that she no, that it was a call in about a gun.
And you get them on video while they were saying this?
I have all the video. I do have the videos, but
Can I ask you, and if I could get you, Mom, and also you, Mr. Walker, to comment on this, but, you know, how does it feel right now to be black in Mesquite?
it's scary. It is so scary. I'm afraid for the blacks, and I'm really afraid for the blacks in Mesquite, because if they, it could be somebody else and simply lose their life. Like my son could have lost his life. It's scary. When I go through Mesquite, it's scary for me.
Did you ever felt like that before?
I hadn't.
How
No.
many years have you lived in Mesquite out of the video?
I stayed in Mesquite for 10 years. I'm no longer a resident of Mesquite, but I still go to Mesquite from time to time, but I'm afraid of Mesquite now. I'm really afraid.
Did you ever talk to your son about, I guess the temperature of how everything is right now, just being a young black man?
I have talked to my son about being a black young man, but my son is a very respectful young man. They wouldn't have had no kind of issues with my son. My son have never been in trouble.
So seeing him going through this, how does that make you feel?
It hurts. It hurts. It really hurts, and he's really scared because, like I said, seeing the guns drawn, and I'm telling him he can't hear, and one of the officers tell me, "We'll just let them handle it." That wasn't right. That wasn't appropriate. I mean, no. It's scary.
Y'all heard the incident of what the experiences this family has had. They're just outrageous, and I'm so grateful that we are here to see this young man be alive in his story. And the next generation Action Network is grateful for this family to reach out to us, and we want to hear from other residents of Mesquite about this situation. We know about a couple of different calls from different people in the media, different incidents that have happened in regards to Mesquite police escalating the situation out of control. And so this is the reason why we want to see real actions, leadership in regards to this situation. All right? Thank you so much. Thank you for attending this press conference.
Will you be emailing the video?
Yes, yes. Y'all can write down the list. Write down y'all email particularly, so we can get that to you.